What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Grind Force Gaming. Nova here, and as always, we have DatSkat as well. What's going on, DatSkat?
What's up, guys? How we all doing?
Hopefully you guys are doing well. We have a really cool tier listing here that we're going to do. It's not like a full-on tier list like we just did. If you didn't watch that one, definitely go take a look. I'll put a card up at the top for you here. It's just like our comprehensive free-to-play tier list that we did, well, like a couple weeks ago, I think, right?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. It was like right after Sagat came out. You know, we figured we needed to talk about all of that jazz.
Yeah. It's a good one, so definitely check it out. But here we have something different. What are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at a wallop of a list here. We have a whole bunch of C1 skill fighters out in front of you, and we're kind of going to pull from two different pools here.
Mm-hmm.
Support and damage.
Okay. So C1 skills are primarily a support-based skill.
Yeah, so we're only going to rank the support skills. We're not going to really rank the damage skills. We'll talk about a few of them because some of them are very notable. However, the support skills are generally what you're going to be using if you're pulling a C1 fighter into your lineup.
Right. And when I say they're generally support, I mean, obviously it looks like the damage-based ones outnumber the support, but that's because what I mean is like nobody's using the damage ones really. Like not that often, at least.
Not unless they're already on your team. So like, for example, a Guile down there, like he's probably going to be on one of your teams.
Oh, well, for sure.
If he's not, he should be. But you're probably going to run his super, and therefore his C1 isn't used. Same thing with Fashion Blanca. You're probably running his super, therefore C1 isn't used. Yeah. Same thing with Beast Zangief. You're probably running his C2, so C1 isn't used. So you get the idea with why we're only going to be ranking the support characters, because honestly, they're just a little more fun.
Yeah, well, they also have a much higher like functionality. They have different mechanics that are brought into the game rather than just dealing damage, right? If you're already dealing damage with your super, your C2, your C3, like you need some support, you need some buffing going on, you need some stability that's provided to the team. If you're just running all damage with no healing, no mitigation whatsoever, you're going to get rolled. So this is why I think this list is super important, because as you start getting farther into the game and you need 2 or 3 teams, who do you put into these C1 slots, right?
Well, I think we should get right into it. I think let's answer that question and figure out what's going on with this list.
How about we start with, let's start with Blanca.
Ooh, Blanca. He's a super fun character. Nova, I think his C1's pretty cool. It has some interrupt potential, but it's not a foregone conclusion like some of the other fighters, like E Honda, for example. But sticking with Blanca here, I think he's a B.
Okay. I can definitely be okay with having him settle into the B if his C1 had a more predictable interrupt mechanic to it. That would definitely bump him up, maybe A, maybe even S if it was like really predictable like B Zangief. But
it's just not. It's just not there. So
and the other thing is you probably only really need him at SS right now, because with the release of Nero, he's like his best assist fighter.
Yeah, if you're gonna pay for Nero, you know what I mean? But again, this is a free-to-play friendly list, so if Nero wasn't pay to win, maybe Blanca would get another notch on his belt right there, but that's just not the case, guys. So I think a B slot is really good for Blanca.
B slot feels pretty good. How about Dudley? Good. I just want to talk about Dudley.
Well, we could certainly talk about Dudley for a brief moment, because I'm going to put him at a C.
Yep. I feel that. So he has a stun. He's doing grave injury, which is reducing healing, and also increases bleed damage taken.
Yep.
It can be useful, maybe in the early, flame tower situations. But I mean, really, if you're going to be using a C1 for flame, you're going to be using Summer Yang, right?
Oh,
and where do we put Summer Yang? That's the question.
Or Fei Long,
Or Fei Long. Or Fei Long.
Or DeCapre. Or anybody else.
Oh, geez. There's so many options aside from Dudley. But what about Summer Yang? Where should we put him? Let's drop him somewhere in here.
You know what? I think he's a B, and I want to let you go into this one. I think you have a good grasp on what Summer Yang is, what he can do, what you have to do with him as a character to get value out of his C1. Yeah. So I'll just rank him at the B, but I'm gonna let you elaborate.
I'll let him sit in B. This is a debatable one, right? He recently had some issues with his kit that got fixed with the recent update. I could see an argument for him being an A. I honestly prefer to let him sit in the B position because you have to build him. His C1 is shielding the team, but that shield is based on his defense. So not only do you need to completely build him in all ways, you need to build his grade up. You need to do lots of awakenings with him. You have to have the fodder for that. You have to have the copies of him for that. You also have to max his gear. You have to level all of his gear. And you're going to want to work on his SS skill, his fighting spirit. So
all for a C1?
Nova? All for a C1 use. Like that is the thing. So like if you do have him and you build him, he's awesome. But that's a big investment. And that's an investment that you're making when you already have a character or another fighter doing a C1 where the shield has no bearing on his stats whatsoever. And that is Abel. And that is why Abel gets an S in my opinion.
Yeah, put him up.
He's Summer Yang, but his shields block 2 hits, period, regardless of the damage coming in, and have no bearing on his stats whatsoever. I use him as an A+ grade all the time. I'm in chapter 34. I'm running Abel in my tag position for his C1, and he's an A+. No gear.
Really, really good unit. I really like Abel. I really like Abel.
So good.
I was a little late to build him, and when I did, I was very happy I did. Yeah. You know, there were circumstances where I just needed that shield to mitigate a guy coming after me, or Akuma, or any of those other assassins that target certain characters. Throw up some shields, man. Let's go.
Well, and he's definitely one to build. Like mine's just an A+, but his fighting spirit is amazing when you get him to SS. His assist skill is amazing if you use him for that. He's a great unit to build also. But the thing is you don't have to.
No,
and I think makes him S. He's immediately viable.
I built him, and I think other people watching this video might have the same take, because I needed to put him out front for a team, for my third team.
Sure.
And so I found a good reason to build him. But if you don't have a solid third team, or you're not thinking of building them, or you're before you have a solid third team, or you're even, considering that, you should get him to an A+ grade at the very minimum and use him as a C1 coming out of your tag position.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of benefit. Yep.
Super, super amazing C1. Like
cool troop.
I feel like it flew under the radar for a lot of people as well, because if you use this in the early game, if you're just starting out and you get him, use his C1, you'll clear things very easily because he's just going to be blocking the hits entirely. Next, let's do Fei Long. We already mentioned him before, so.
Oh yeah.
Skat, thoughts on this one?
You know what? My main man, Fei Long, he's going to be a B. And I can elaborate on this one.
Yeah.
So Fei Long, I think, is pretty good. His C1 skill is really good. Okay, guys, it's really good.
It is very good.
But you get a similar buff when he comes out of the assist position.
Yes.
So you only need to get him SS with a Spider Spirit to level 5 to get all that value. And I would rather have somebody else on that C1 for those teams, on my fire damage team, like Street Poison or Abel or Elena or DeCapre, or the list goes on as far as who I would put in that lineup, and I just keep them in the assist. Now
it is good though. It is good.
Yeah.
So
however, on the flame tower, there's a case for him.
There's a case. But the thing is, like, that might be the best instance in which you should even use him as an assist, though, because you want the whole team dealing increased flame and burn damage, which is what his assist skill does.
Yeah.
But his C1 is single target damage, but it's increasing flame vulnerability. If that was an AoE attack, that would make it really good. but it's single target. So it's good. If you need the damage, then it's good. But if you're making a comparison between Flame Faction C1 skills, Summer Yang's is better and probably more usable in the later game.
I agree.
But I would say that he still gets a B because it's usable right away. It's not quite so it's not stat dependent like Summer Yang's, but it's also just not quite as good. So for that reasoning, I would say that would be the instance. Now, if you have a totally built Summer Yang, that's an A grade, maybe even an S. And like, you could argue that we should put him there, but that's a big investment. Okay. So
Andy's kind of new. So,
Andy's new.
If you started the game, chances are you haven't, gradually obtained the copies you need for him yet. So I know I haven't. He's sitting at, I don't know, somewhere at SS plus, waiting to go up. But
I mean, I'm working on him too, and he will be amazing. But he's going to have to wait a little bit.
All in due time, my friend. Yes.
What about Dalsim? I mean, he's a damage dealer, but his C1 is just doing self-buffing.
Yeah, you know what? His C1 skill kind of sucks, dude.
I feel like it's a C.
I think it's a C. I'm going to put him down there.
Who's using Dalsim, it on purpose?
Yeah, his passive is going into that meditative state if you have him on the field. Not coming from your tag, but on the field.
And there's nothing worse than when a teammate gets knocked out and then he swaps in for the C1 skill and you're just watching him do no damage when you're playing. If you like swap to auto, you're just like,
for 5 seconds.
This is what a waste.
Bouncing, and you're like, come on.
Instant loss.
Yeah, so not so good. However, Dalsim as a unit is like
incredible.
S tier for me.
Yeah.
However, I am not using his C1. I'm using anybody else's C1.
Yep.
Decapre, Street Poison, Abel for some sustain, Elena for some heal.
Yep. Dalsim has maybe the best C3 in the game.
True. Or E Honda. Yeah, but he's not being used as a C1, so down to the C grade.
I like him for his C3, not for his C1.
Oh, yeah. His C3 is so good.
I don't even like him for his super that much. It takes too long.
Yeah.
It just takes too long.
Unless you get to launch 2 fireballs, it's not.
That's pretty cool. That is good. What about... Okay. Let's do Street Poison.
Okay.
That's an S.
That's an S. No questions about it.
Hands down.
That crit boost for the whole team coming out of the tag. Come on now. I mean,
she's viable out of the tag as an A.
Oh yeah.
Have her pop out, boost the crit damage by 30% for everyone, and just put her back. Like, it's amazing.
Yep. And so she's a budget character. Yep. She has massive effect on your team. She's damaged now, baby. And she's one of my favorite units. I think
she's incredible. I built her immediately upon release, and I do not regret it whatsoever.
No, it's great C1. One of the best in the game. She is an S, clear cut.
Super, super good. What about Elena? You've mentioned Elena a few times. Yep. She is the best healer in the game, I would say, and that heal comes from her C1.
C1, and it's really good. And her C1 will trigger her vehicles skill. It heals. It puts some damage out there. It has some speed boost in it with the vehicles, and so best healer in the game, guys. If you need some heals, you go to Elena. That's just it.
I've been using her since the very beginning of the game. The one thing with her though, is she's kind of like Summer Yang in the way that you're going to need to build her a lot, because her heal is based on her HP. Her other benefits that she adds to the team through her passive are based on her defense. So you're going to need to build her. You're going to need to work on her gear, her vehicles, her fighting spirit. You're going to have to, invest a lot into her to make her as good as she can be. But nonetheless...
But she's the only one doing heals, where Summer Yang has a gimmick that is, it can be, Abel does that too.
Right.
So she's an S. She's the only one doing the healing to that level. And
it's amazing. She's a must build.
It's too good.
For sure.
It's too good.
How about Decapre? Because she's damaged too,
Oh,
right? But she has a very
okay.
interesting mechanic that I think a lot of people have overlooked.
Yes. Decapre is really cool, guys. Check her out if you haven't. I'm gonna put her in the A, there, Nova.
Let's do
And
it.
so Decapre's C1 is a little bit of an assassin role where it will attack the lowest HP unit of the enemy
Yes.
team. So how
Works
I use her,
perfectly in tangent with Viper, which is probably what you were
that's
just about
right.
to say.
That's exactly true. Thanks. And
You're
so
welcome.
so C Viper will go, and then Decapre will attack. So C Viper is going to attack the back line. Decapre will then attack because C Viper attacks. And if the unit is not knocked out by Decapre's C1 skill, then that unit will suffer minus 30% attack for 15 full seconds. So let's talk about taking away a lot of energy and oomph from the enemy team.
Yeah.
You know, the enemy team's damage dealer is going to be that backline unit. So all of a sudden you've taken 30% attack from them.
It's
Wow.
pretty awesome. That's a huge debuff.
15
a
seconds.
Huge debuff. And I think that makes her a
15
little
seconds.
unique in this case, right? Because everyone else is doing team buffing. Abel's
Yep.
buffing your team, Street Poison's buffing your team,
Yep.
Elena's buffing your team. You know, the rest of these that we've allocated as well, I don't need to list them. They're right here. But she's actually doing a huge debuff. 15-second, 30% damage or attack. Just attack though, right? It's not damage.
Yeah.
Just
Guys,
attack.
that's a whole nother skill cycle.
Like that's crazy. I need to look
Come
at her
on
skill
now.
though real quick. It says it's attack, right? She's debuffing attack, not damage.
That's correct. It's just the attack, but
Attack,
that would
yes.
be any damage they're looking to put out. Maybe it's
Just before
non-elemental. I don't know.
Before the multiplier, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
If it was a 30% damage reduction, that would be like after the multiplier, and that would be insane.
Oh, okay, got it.
That would be
Got
insane.
it. Good note. Good note.
But just attack anyway. It's reducing what their multiplier is doing anyway. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Super cool troop. I love Decapre.
Yeah, she's awesome. I need to actually, to be honest with you, I haven't built her, but since we were talking about this earlier today, and now doing this now and talking about it more, I think I'm probably gonna dump my flame fodder into her rather than Summer Yang. I think I might let him sit on the bench a little bit longer. I think this is a little bit more useful.
Yeah, until you have extra copies of Summer Yang, which I don't, and maybe some people do if they pulled for in the faction summon or pulled for him in the 3,000 gem special summon there, or 3,000 gem pick your summon.
Right. I think if I get
you're gonna have
one more copy, I think I can get him to SS, which I think is good. I can probably just leave him there for a little while because I'm only going to be using him in Flame Tower.
Yeah.
I'm not using him for the other stuff that I'm doing right now because he's nowhere near as leveled as my primary lineup.
And the copper can come out of your tag too and still deal that because it's not dependent.
Correct.
It's not dependent on her damage per se.
Right.
But that execute mechanic is really cool.
Yeah, that's true. You don't need to deal a lot of damage. You could just use her for that 30% attack reduction.
Yep.
That's very, very true. E Honda.
A.
Thoughts? A. So his C1 has an interrupt. It's viable no matter what his level is. You can have him in the tag. He can pop out, but it is contingent on him being able to actually hit the person that's doing the skill. So if you're playing as a team,
it's a for sure interrupt. You know what I mean?
It's a for sure, yeah. But it's not useful if the team that you're fighting against has a tank in the front that's doing no skills.
Yeah.
And then you need to hope that one of the fighters is going out in front of their tank and you're catching it at the right time. Like that's a little difficult, but it is extremely good. And he's also he's an amazing tank. One of the best.
He's a really great tank. And the only other person doing an interrupt from their C1 that we found was Jen.
Yeah. Which is why we have him down here.
But his is only a 15% chance, and he has to be in one of two stances to do it.
Right.
So very conditional. And so if you need to hit that front line and you don't want to wait around for B Zangief's spin, or you can't, or your team isn't fast enough and you need to hit that front line to interrupt whatever the enemy team's doing, E Honda's your man, and I think he gets an A for that. I give him an A minus if I were to
if we had
truly
a
put
middle
this list
category.
out. Yeah, but still really good. Better than our B fighters.
I've used him with B Zangief. I've used them
Yeah, me
both in the same
too.
lineup because then you have potential interrupt on C1 and you have an interrupt potential on C2.
Yep.
Sometimes you just really need to make sure that you get it to be able to progress and shut down the enemy's combo chain. So that's a pretty solid thing to do sometimes.
Yep.
Let's do athlete Chun-Li, and then we'll talk about Yin and Yang here after that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the grade, and I want you to give me the sprinkles on that.
Okay.
So she's an A.
Okay. I feel
That's
good about that.
That's where she is. That's where she sits. And she should sit there.
I'm actually working on her right now. She is a master faction, which means she's divination, which means it's tough to get her. It's going to take a lot of time to build her up. But the thing is, I feel good about her being an A because you only need her at SS for her to really be viable.
Okay.
She puts a wind vortex out on the field, which is boosting your attack, boosting your effect resistance, also reducing the damage that you're taking. And once she is SS, if you have her fighter spirit leveled up to 20, she's reducing that damage even more so for flame, thunder, and soul damage specifically for all wind and master faction fighters. So you have like a crazy support unit. Oh, not to mention that her vortex also blocks projectiles or ranged attacks. So it's crazy. She's basically E Honda's C3 and Zangief's passive, but she is doing this at a higher degree because she has her passive that does one thing, and then she has her fighting spirit, which is doing another, but they work in tangent together for a lot of damage reduction. So if you're running a master or win team, she is incredible for that team. Now, if she had healing too, that'd be mind blowing. Like that'd be a crazy fighter.
But we do want to mention that if you're going to count on those stats coming from her passive, then she does need to be on the field, in which you would want to build her past SS. Is that accurate, Nova?
Yeah, that's correct. If you're going to have her on the field, you need to make sure that she can take damage. So you're going to want to build her up as much as possible. I am one copy away from getting her to SS.
Nice.
And then I can test that out because I'm also very curious to see if her fighting spirit works alongside Zangief's passive, because if it does, his passive reduces flame, soul, and thunder by 35%. Her fighting spirit makes her wind vortex do that exact same reduction. So I feel like they should work together, which would be a 70% damage decrease for incoming damage that is thunder, flame, or soul.
So you could potentially, and I think once you get her built, we're going to run this and make a video on this because I think this is awesome. But does require testing, guys. Requires testing, so stay tuned. But you could potentially run like your third team as Zangief as your tank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any damage dealer you want. Let's say Guile.
I was thinking Guile because you want, whoever it is, you want it to be either wind or master to have the full effect from her fighting spirit.
Okay, so let's say Guile.
Yep.
And then you want athlete Chun-Li on the field as well.
Yep.
And then somebody coming out of your tag to do something else. I don't know what.
Something. Could be healing. Could be maybe you put Elena with that team.
Maybe you put Elena with that team, or Street Poison just to give Guile extra. No, because Street Poison would be a C1. Yeah. Anyway, there's a play here.
Well, Elena would be a C1 too. So who do you put in tag in that? That's a great question because you'd be running Guile, Flame Chun. You need a C2.
Shoot, man, you could run
Zangief for the interrupt, and then Guile C3. That could be a really.
It might not have enough damage, but you could run Rose for extra buffing.
I was just gonna say Rose because then you get the buffing and you get the healing.
Yeah, and you could have Rose come out of the tag for that and not have to build both Athlete Chun-Li and Rose from Divination.
Yeah, Rose would be.
Or you could just do Cammy.
Or you could do Akuma.
Oh, that would be dirty.
For the
Okay,
C2.
Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned, Grind Force. This video is coming.
This is
I just got super jazzed
wow,
up
this is
to make that video.
Unexpected conversation here. This just really made me think about the possibilities.
Well,
this.
and you and I, Nova, are about to do a video here in the next coming days about squad makeups to have a three-team squad.
Okay, so I'm going to get her to SS before we make that video, so we can do that effectively.
I want to do that because I want to see it. I really do.
I think I have some tickets. I'll draw for her today.
Okay.
Okay. That was a crazy tangent, but my gosh, I'm glad we had that conversation. That has me really excited to test this out. Let's do Yang first.
Okay. So
I'm gonna be honest, I get these two confused all the time. I'm gonna have to look him up.
Okay, so Yang does not have a hat. And Yoon has a hat.
Right. Okay.
So hat is 3 letters, and so is Yoon.
Okay.
So Yang has hair, and that's 4 letters. So so Yang
well done there.
Yang and Yoon are I'm gonna spoil this one. Both A's.
They're both
A's. And we did not expect to slot them up that high, but then we got Reed in their C1s, and we were like,
yeah,
you know what, dude?
Yeah, so
those are pretty sweet.
Yang's increases crit rate by 25% for 5 seconds. So you're only likely going to see a C2 come out of that. But if you have him like buffing, let's say Fashion Blanca, his C2 crit rate is going to increase by 25%. If you have Flame Chun-Li as his assist, he's going to deal even more flame vulnerability, debuffing to the targets.
There's a play here, guys.
That's pretty powerful. That's situational, sure. But this is great for any powerful C2.
And let's say you're using Street Poison on another team because you just want to see your third squad, put up some better numbers.
Yeah.
And you're like, I still want to see some damage output from my Fashion Blanca team.
Right.
There's a good case for
great case
Yang.
For that. It's phenomenal. And you don't have to do any awakening with him.
No. Nope.
That works with him as an A grade fighter. As long as when we say these things, I just want to clarify, like when I say you don't have to build someone, what I mean is you don't have to use any fodder for them. You still need to put them in your limit break because parts of their skills are unlocked based on their level, but their level requires no investment other than you just slotting them in your limit break. So
correct.
just to clarify that, because Yoon is the same way.
Yeah, it's Yoon. Yep. A again.
Mm-hmm. But his is a little bit differently. He increases trigger skill damage for 15 seconds for everyone.
Oof.
So if you have a speed team, if you're like really rolling through your combo chains, there is a 25% skill damage increase pretty much all the time on the board.
And you could use him with a Cammy. You could use him with, I've been playing the game, Gore Magala Ken.
Yeah.
You could use him with Evil Ryu. You can use him with, even Elena has a trigger skill that comes out from her C1. However, you're not going to use both their C1s at the same time.
Right.
Bison has a trigger skill.
Bison's is interesting.
Yeah.
So his is, I'll let you explain this because Bison, his C1, you need to have all 6 vehicles to really see this realized. And I don't, but you do.
I do. And, okay, so this is kind of complicated. And he's down in that damage row that we were not allocating to our tiers here. But we should talk about a couple of these people. And Bison is one of these people. So Bison C1 is the Psycho Absorb, right? And that does some damage and absorbs some health. Mm-hmm. However, it is also a trigger skill if you have all of his vehicles. And it triggers off of him dying and doing his Return of the Inferno, which is the exploding thing.
Right.
So you're getting this function from his C1 skill as a trigger skill or a C1 skill, depending on where you're getting it from. And in the 6th vehicle, it's not highlighted, and we might need to do some testing on this, but it does say the word execute. And if that's true and it does an execute function just like the Capre, then that
Yeah.
individual also gets reduced attack.
Yeah. I
So
think that's probably the way that it functions, but yeah, I mean, we should probably test, but
it just doesn't highlight it in the reading of the vehicle. So
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does, honestly, because Bison's going to be one of those people that you want to build anyway. So you should
Yeah.
probably be going
Oh,
for
for
his
sure.
vehicles at some point anyway.
He is a must max. I mean, you can get him to SSS and stop. You can get him to SS and stop for a while if you want to.
You're going to want to
But
bump him up
you're gonna
eventually,
want to,
but
yeah.
yeah.
Mine's at SS plus right now. I switched from pulling for him to do Athlete Chun-Li because I wanted to do the testing. Because I was just curious. She seemed to be very interesting upon release, so I switched to her. But I should move back to, I think I have like 3 or 4 vehicles for him too, but he's not SSS, so I can't even equip him.
No. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, no, he's amazing. Maybe he has. Look, this is not like we kind of ordered these down here. These damage, more damage based C1s. We like kind of ordered them, but we're not really going to get into it, to be honest with you, because like you're not
the only
really
one that I want to really get into is Hugo, because he is potato. That's it.
I mean, we purposefully put these two at the back because they're terrible. And look, we did our tier list and we put Hugo in unusable, and we caught some heat on Reddit for that because the argument that people made was he's great for Flame Tower. Okay, look,
but he is potato.
If your argument is that he's great for Flame Tower, like, you still don't need to use him for it. Like, you shouldn't be investing any flame fodder into him whatsoever unless you've already maxed literally everybody else, except for maybe DJ. I don't know, but like,
don't invest into him.
No.
If you can put some time into Dudley.
I would rather build Dudley.
That's what I'm running in Flame Tower, and I'm like level 220.
Yeah.
Without building Hugo.
Hugo is potato, and his C1 stacks potato. It's stupid.
It stacks potatoes. He is.
I don't know. Whatever. You can disagree if you want to, but I use Hugo for fodder. I use T-Hawk for fodder. I could probably use Charming Dudley for fodder, but I'm pretty. I don't really need to. I'll build him later, but. We can just pass over a few of these right now, like that are worth noting. Guile's C1 is doing armor break. It's doing damage. Jen's has the potential to interrupt. Fashion Blanca is hitting the back line, also consuming wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
Juries can maybe silence, be Zangief. It does grave injury, just like Adon, which can be quite good. This Zangief does a taunt.
Yep. That's unique.
This is just damage. Yeah.
Not many other people do taunts, except for Fashion Blanca's third vehicle, I think. Triggers a taunt. But other than that, you don't see taunt too much in the game. So it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean, these all have some use, in situationally, I think you could find it to be nice. Like Adon, his C2 and his C1 work in tangent of each other. So if you do use him, you actually want to play full manual so you can alternate those, and he can deal a lot of damage. Like it's pretty good, but honestly, guys, like C1, in my opinion, damage should be the last thing on your mind. C1 should just be doing something good for your team buffing wise, or something bad for the other team debuffing wise.
And just a general Street Fighter Duel mechanic is your super does a bunch of damage, your C1 does a little damage, and then your C2 does a percentage more damage, and your C3 does a percentage more damage.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it works. So your damage you want to be on your C2 and 3 and super. Correct. And your C1 is just setting up that damage. That's the general idea of what's going on. You can use Adon with Vega. You can do another thing, but Nova, I did want to bring up something before we end this video here.
Ooh, bring it up.
Well, that's simply the fact that we haven't listed 3 notable characters. Sagat, Virgil, and Nero.
Okay.
So let's talk about that really quickly before we get through this video. Sagat, he does some healing for himself. He does a lot of damage for himself, or to the enemy from himself, not AoE.
Yep.
It's a pretty good C1 as far as like its damage output, and the healing's really nice. It keeps him beefy, keeps him on the field.
It's good for him.
It's really good for him.
He's also very new, so I'm not sure that many people even have him built to even.
I'm working on it. I'll get back to you on this.
Yeah, get back to me on it. But yeah, we didn't include him because 1, there's not a card for him on here. 2, he's very new, and 3, I don't really know how high he would rank.
Yeah, and anyway. Virgil and Nero, we're not going to do Virgil because, like, if you got him to use him for the event, great.
Yeah.
But you're not going to build him because once the event ends, he's gone.
Virgil, even I haven't even looked at his kit that much, but he's primarily a damage dealing character anyway. So
it's pretty strong. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, he'd still sit in the lower like C1 damage category. Like he's not going to trump the use of one of these S or A grade.
Nope.
C1 fighters anyway. So he'd sit down here. Nero, and if you did get him, his C1's very good. Nero is really good. I hate that I hate and I love his release because he's so good, but you can only get him if you buy him. It sucks.
I know.
It sucks.
It's okay.
I'm torn. I don't want to do it, but I kind of want to do it.
I know, but
I don't know. Crunchyroll.
If we keep giving the devs money, they're never gonna change, right? They're just gonna keep asking for more money.
You gotta put your foot down and be like, this needs to be more free to play friendly because
that's
a topic for another video.
Flame Chun-Li got all the way down to $30, but why can't Nero?
Because Nero's way better. So here's the thing about Flame Chun-Li. Flame Chun-Li's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that she's very good. She is like, this is going to sound weird to say, but she's an incredible assist fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want her assisting a flame dealing, burn inflicting fighter that does a lot of crit.
Team. Like, Fashion Blanca?
Fashion Blanca. And then you throw, which one is it? And then you throw Yang as the C1 to increase the crit rate.
Ooh,
could be really good.
Now we're talking teams, guys.
Really good. Could be really good, but situational.
All right, Nova. I love this list. Like, talking about C1 fighters is important, guys, because like you're gonna want to build your damage dealers. I get it.
They
also need to have C1 fighters. So
you need the damage, but sometimes these fighters will just tilt the scale for you. Like, I am way underpowered, and I'm beating levels in Chapter 34 with an A+ grade Able, if that says anything. Sometimes you just need this to work for you. And trust me, it will. Use these fighters as your C1 in the early and mid game, and you will know exactly what I'm talking about, and you will still be using them in late game.
You bet.
They're amazing.
Okay, guys. Well, hit the like and subscribe button if you found value to this or just enjoyed our banter.
Yeah, definitely subscribe.
We love making these videos, so
definitely subscribe. It's very helpful for us. It lets us know that you're enjoying the video content that we're doing. We're going to continue making more Street Fighter Duel videos. As we mentioned a few times, we have the 3-team composition list that's going to be coming out here very soon. If you have any other ideas, honestly, any other ideas that you might have that you want to see us talk about, put it in the comments. We'll take a look at those and then we can tackle those subjects. But that's it for today. So, like, subscribe, and be sure to stay tuned for the next videos. Cheers, guys.
Enjoy it, guys. Thanks.